This is Rebel Wing Chun, so everything from this point on is Rebel Wing Chun. Now you'll find some similarities in the different versions of Wing Chun that are out there, and my original training was down the Bruce Lee, Dan Inosanto lineage down that way, Ip Man. Regarding punches, you'll see a lot of people doing the vertical fist punches, and you'll see the traditional, you'll see it come across the center line and go to the target. That's how it's trained generally. So when we're looking for that, you're looking at the mechanics, and there's good practice in that if I'm occupying center line, nobody else can. And when you look at what's dangerous, you look at what needs to be defended. That's everything along the center line. You're looking at basically where the spine, from the spine outward, front or back. Everything, all attacks have to come in towards center. And you can say, well, maybe if I'm using a weapon, I'll go towards the arms and the limbs and so forth. Different concept, different practice. We're talking about boxing, close quarter combat. We are talking weapons, so we are looking towards, my organs aren't out here. That's why we don't defend things away from this area. That's why when your body temperature drops and so forth, blood is pooled where? It's not pooled out there. It's not pooled to your extremities. It's pooled to the organs, the things that are vital to keep you alive. So if you think about it that way, think about your training as defending all of that. So when we occupy center line, and you'll see that in traditional form, occupying center line, nobody else can, meaning if you can deflect off that line with forward energy and so forth, you already have an up on the person, meaning they have to circumvent that somehow, they have to get past that. So when somebody throws a punch, and we're going to look at Anna here. So when we're looking at regular punches, so you have quarter turn, three-quarter turn, you have full rotation turns, punches, you have hooks, you have shovel hooks, you have anchor punches. There's the variety is as numerous as the number of styles there are and the number of people training it. They'll have different variations on the theme. There's only so many ways that you can actually rotate your arm through a range of motion. So when you're looking at punches, if something is coming out that has to rotate and come toward target, when you start thinking about the anatomy and all of the physics that have to come into play to start rotating, so it's not just I'm rotating here, you're actually rotating from the pectoralis is also helping to turn that in. So you're engaging muscle groups that have to come to this conclusion at the end of which you're hoping to drive through with good stability and mechanical backup. Now, nobody's saying you can't deliver a good solid knockout punch from there. You can have a 4-year-old deliver a good knockout punch, honestly. So it's in timing, it's in what the other person has let go as far as their defense. There's angles, there's a lot to be involved, but we're looking at just the baseline physics of this. So when we're looking at a vertical fist, when we're drawing it from that center, she travels and then her elbow takes that center path too. So the amount of rotational stress is no longer in there, meaning the amount of muscle groups that have to come in to help rotate and turn something over is not there. In Rebel Wing Chun as well as Wing Chun, we'll go from hip to elbow to hand. So that hip rotation drives the elbow, boom, right into the target. So there's a direct line from here, at least mentally, that we can use as a means for mechanical advantage, meaning we take the rest of the body out under stress and we just snap it through this center line drive from here. The hip triggers into the elbow, into a loose fist, to a tight fist on impact. Everything on a Wing Chun punch should be, on any punch really, including knife work and so forth, should be relaxed and fluid, allowing the transfer of full power from the ground up, hip transfer, snapping into and through the target. If you have tension along any part of that pathway, you're reducing the amount of full potential you have on impact and follow through. If I'm throwing like a hook, I have to go, there's a lot of different hooks. So you can do just ones that come from here, from the ground up. You can do ones that are just from the top. You can do hooks that come in at an angle. You can just do variations of the shovel hook. The key on that is that this opens up and starts giving tells. This separation here is an indicator, is a tell to the person, especially over time and practice and so forth. If I'm going from this right to you, the only tell you get is the ones I give you, meaning buildup of tension, obvious bouncing before I strike, that sort of thing, which you'll see a lot of. People have a problem detraining that. So what we're looking at is the most efficient path to the target, which is right here to here. I want to get to you with cover. This is boxing cover that we have to employ. When this goes out, this comes up. If I'm going like this, you'll see a lot of people, they'll turn their head this way on hooks. Left and right, you'll see that. That's why they're always knocked out. When you watch somebody in fights, you'll see when they get knocked out, it's because they have drawn this out, they've dropped the cover for this side. People will say, keep your cover up. Well, if the cover's like this, it still sucks because there's no secondary, there's no natural responsive cover. This is part of that responsive cover that's built in through training and goes from A to B. That's it. So by the time you get an indicator that I have punched, it should already have hit you. If I go from a hook, you can tell there's a time delay. There's things. I'm pretty fast, but when I'm throwing at speed, that hook is not going to beat a straight line punch. And you only have to do this in sparring. You only have to do this in training over and over to get that idea. And again, relaxation through the train. If you're tense like this, in this, that's going to be slower than any hook that comes out that's relaxed. So relaxation through, everything else being equal, the one that's the most relaxed and has the least amount of mechanical involvement, muscle-wise, rotation-wise, everything else, is going to hit the target first. Straight line through the target. This is how Rebel Wing Chun does it. Through to the spine and out the spine. It's not, we're going to look for a glancing blow at the jaw and hope for the spin to torque the spine to get the shock on the nervous system. We will drive forward all the way through the punch the best ways. Even if I'm rotating and turning and so forth, my straight line punches are very efficient. So that's the difference between why we would use a straight line vertical fist versus adding any type of thing like rotation. When you see how we train muscle-wise, that when we have to rotate under stress, we're actually incorporating a lot more muscles that don't have to be involved in the action we're trying to accomplish, which is driving this at speed through your body. If I incorporate rotations and turns and everything else like that, not that I can't get really good at that and be deadly and a threat to people, but the same type of person who can do without any of those rotations, but just a straight line, most efficient mechanics, is going to be out on top. So relaxation, movement with the least amount of mechanical involvement, least amount of muscle involvement, and a drive through and out the spine is what you're looking for. So if you have any other questions, we'll cover some of this stuff for the Rebel Wing Chun because people have been asking. So if you have any other questions, please put that in the comments below. I do appreciate that you are coming to take a look at a different perspective. Thank you.